Hello and welcome to this edition of the show. This week we got special guest, Mr. Skyler Saufley, has returned to the, he's come to the new studio, returned to the show studio, it's the new studio, and it's his first time here. What do you think of our little get-up here?
I love it.
Cool. Tim's really making this place look good. Do a shout-out to Tim Childry. He don't like to get on the camera, but he makes all this happen. He operates the controls. And he's put a lot of work into this and continues to do a lot of work. So let's all hear it for Tim Childry.
Yay! I'll chill for myself.
We're gonna. I'd like to do a shout out to a couple of recent events that have taken place. We had the food truck festival a couple of weeks ago. Stacy, her friend Jennifer, and I went to it, and it was very hot. I still got a sunburn here. But really good.
That's called really a farmer's tan, Brian.
Right. Farmer's tan.
Farmer's tan.
It stops right there. Yeah. But yeah, I love the food truck festival. Did you go? You did not? No.
I wanted to, but I just forgot about it.
Yeah, it was great. And food trucks have been a long time coming in Columbus. They just have not been around for whatever reason. Won't go into that, but it's good to see them here now. And I'd like to do a shout-out to anybody watching who's in control of things. We need more food trucks. We love it. Bring them on. Second thing is just yesterday I was in the Strut the Hooch Parade. That was fun. Mm-hmm. There was a bunch of folks involved, and I'd like to do a shout-out to Steve Scott, who was on the show some time back talking about Strut the Hooch, and it is now come and gone. Great thing. I look for it next year. And if you're a musician or just a weirdo like some of us are, get out there and do it. It's fun. So, Tim, I'll talk to Tim about some. Oh, he's unavailable at the moment. So, Skyler, what did you think of Rogue One?
I did not care for it.
What about it did you not like?
I just thought it was a waste of time.
Wow, that's critical. I mean, I had some issues with it myself. There were some things that I would have done differently.
Right. I just thought it was 3 hours too long for a short cameo at the end of the movie. I didn't really care for it.
And I believe we were talking about this at Fountain City one night, that you thought, why did they even make the movie? Because it was like,
right.
You thought it was unnecessary for them to even make the
movie.
I got you. It's interesting because I'm, on the other hand, have spent years thinking, it'd be cool to see exactly how that happened.
But I felt like they made that like to kind of fill in the loophole, the hole in the story. Everybody's like, well, why did they have the hole in the Death Star? And it's like, oh, well, they're right. We should make a movie so we can kind of make up for that so they can stop making fun of it, So.
Although, it's funny because I did, like, that particular loophole I never had a problem with. I always thought it was just a flaw built in.
Yeah.
I didn't think there had to be an explanation other than just it was a flaw. But,
so 3 hours and $20 later. And
Oh, yeah. It was awesome, though. I liked it. I did like it. He didn't like it. This is like Moderately Informed, where one likes Superman, one doesn't like Batman, whatever. But
and you notice I took my earphones off when I started talking.
I was going to go easy on Tim, but I was like, nah. So, Skyler, let's talk a little bit about you. You've been gigging around a lot lately. You've seen him on the show before. And we're not going through the whole history here. We're just we're gonna talk about some current events, what he's got going on. Been gigging a lot. Tell me about that.
Yeah. Just been trying to stay busy. I played up at that 8th and Rail not too long ago. I like playing up there. That's probably my favorite venue.
Yeah, it's up in Opelika, isn't it?
Yeah.
I haven't been up there yet.
It's really nice. You should
heard.
check that place out.
It's in the downtown area. It's actually really pretty up there.
Yeah.
I was there once. I watched Saber play there once. They had a gigantic stage up there and everything.
And they have the best cheesecake. So if you like cheesecake,
really?
they got real good cheesecake.
My wife just walked in.
There you go.
Cheesecake.
That's awesome. And we were talking a little bit about. Now this is something I usually bring up, and we may have talked about it before. But I've never been a fan of the blues, but I can listen to Skyler play, and it's like a lot of the blues that I hear around. It's like I am like blues, eyes glazing over, kind of like Tim with Star Wars. But then I hear you play, Skyler, and it's like yeah, this is pleasant. And we were just talking about this off camera, so. Describe the difference between what you do and what most people think of as the blues.
Well, most people think, when you talk blues, they think, oh, yeah, Stevie Ray Vaughan, I can play crazy fast. But, they forget where it came from, and
Right.
they forget the roots of that music and the roots of all music, and they, you forget about, Son House and Sonny Terry and Robert Johnson and all those country blues guys, and even the early, Chicago guys like Muddy Waters and
Right.
how they forget about those guys, and they just go straight to Jimi Hendrix and all that crazy stuff,
and
which
like-
is good, but it's not.
But Jimi Hendrix
Yeah.
and all those guys actually were, their inspiration was those older guys.
Right. But see, they were inspired, but people now, they see those guys as the real thing,
Right,
where
right.
they don't take the time to look at where they came from,
Right.
and that's what's wrong with it. And when you go and see people that claim to play that kind of music, that ends up being what they're playing. They'll do Jimi Hendrix and
Right.
they'll do Mustang Sally and stuff like that, but then you don't hear any of the real stuff,
Right.
like that tells a story in the song, or that even the guitar solos, back in the day, their solos even said something.
Right.
Every note meant something. I always said B.B. King can do with 3 notes what Eddie Van Halen can't do with the whole
Right.
guitar. So,
And it's interesting too, because Skyler was kind of an epiphany for me, because I had I've been playing around for a while, and I'd hear all these bands playing, and it would be blues night, and I was like, oh,
Right,
blues night,
right.
and I hear all this shredding guitar going on. It's like the same song over and over again, and then I hear Skyler playing one day. Is at Richland, and I was editing the video, and I was like, because I was listening then, a lot of times I'm busy doing stuff or whatever,
Right.
and I hear what's going on, but then I was sitting there editing the video, and I was like, that's not the lame stuff that I was hearing in the clubs. This
Right.
actually sounds good. This is atmospheric and nice, and that's it's good to get that explanation.
right.
Well, that's because Skyler, and I stepped out for a minute, so I may have missed it, but Skyler's a purist.
Yes,
And,
yes.
and then the fact that I see him, how old are you, Skyler?
I'm 21.
21, and he goes back, when the blues first started.
Right.
Well, it's a tradition, and if you don't tend to the tradition, it's going to be gone, and then
Yeah.
where are you going to be without it?
Yeah.
But I wouldn't call myself a purist. I just think around Columbus we have a problem where everybody, they'll do whatever they got to do to get a gig. So
Yeah.
you'll see country bands, and they're like, oh, well, this venue says they want a blues band, so I'll play Mustang Sally and I'll play Ain't No Sunshine and say I'm a
Right.
blues band so I can get the gig,
Right.
Or you'll see like a funk band going and getting blues gigs or stuff like that. Or, it's like I'm not going to go get a gig as a country band at a honky tonk playing reggae, So why would you
Right.
call this blues? It's like I'm all for making your own interpretation of the music, but
Yeah.
when you're claiming to be something and then you play something else, that's where it
Right,
bothers me.
yeah.
That's right.
And there's like this is something that's I've had issues with for a long time, is like original music. Like,
Right.
you have to play mostly covers.
Right.
And I got to say this to you musicians out there. There's some musicians out there that don't want to play Margaritaville. They don't want to play Freebird. They're like, we're not playing those. And it's like, but then at the same time they'll tell you you've got to play covers to get gigs in this town. So what you're doing is you're saying you have to play covers, but we're not going to play these covers. It's like you got to play covers because that's what people want to hear. Sorry, folks, if they want to hear Freebird, you got to do it.
I don't know about all
that.
that.
Should burn some people there. Okay, now let's now probably ruffle some feathers out there, which is one of my hobbies. Tell me about your guitar. Your
Which
little
one?
accident. He had a tragedy with the guitar.
Oh, I haven't heard this now.
So I was playing a gig, and I had an acoustic guitar with me, and I had
What kind of acoustic guitar?
It was a Martin acoustic guitar.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, and so I was, playing the gig, and I was playing with a buddy of mine, and the whole time we're playing, he's like, "All right, time to go. Let's wrap it up. Can I leave 20 minutes early?" And I'm like, "No, you got to play the gig. I'm paying you to play with me. You finish the gig." So finally, 10 minutes before it's time, it's like, all right, let's just pack it up. He keeps bugging me. So we're packing up, and I put my guitar in my case and prop it up against the trunk, and he's like, can you go talk to the guy and go get my money so I can leave? So I'm like, yeah, all right, well, you wait here, watch my guitar. So I go in and get the money, and we get in the car, and I give him the money, and I start pulling out. All of a sudden, I hear this, this crunchy sound, and I'm like, what did I hit? I hit something, and I see in my rear view mirror that case, and my heart sank, and I knew that I ran over that guitar. So, and
wow.
I drove 3 hours to get that guitar too. I met a guy on a Craigslist. I drove 3 hours to go get that guitar because he had it for such a crazy deal. I had to get that guitar, and I think I had that guitar for about 3 months before I ran that thing over.
Wow.
So I went back to my old piece of junk guitar, and somebody, I can't say who it is because they told me not to tell nobody.
Right.
But somebody.
It was me.
Right. But somebody that goes to my shows a lot, and they called me up and they said, we got you something. We want you to come over to the house.
Right.
We got you something, and they bought me a new one.
Nice.
So
that's pretty, too.
I love it.
That's
Yeah.
very nice.
Now, I know that recently you were on a local show here. You're on the D. Armstrong show.
Right.
And were you actually playing the guitar that you're holding now, or was that?
No, that was my electric guitar.
Oh, really?
Right.
Okay. All right. Because I just caught a small, segment of it. I was actually getting ready for work, and and caught a small segment. But I thought you had an acoustic for some reason.
I had it with me. I mean, I don't go nowhere without it, but it's like Ricky Bobby. I don't know what to do with my hands. I got to play.
Right. Well, now, the guitar had sort of a happy ending, though.
Oh, yeah. So I took the guitar I ran over, and I saved it, and I took it to Mike Childry, and he, built another guitar out of it. He got a cigar box and built the guitar and used all the parts except the body. So he used the bracing and the neck and the pickup and everything, and made a brand new guitar. And I gave it to a buddy of mine for Christmas.
That's so cool.
And then, since it's all the same, you plug it up, you can't tell the difference. It sounds just like it did when I had it. So,
that's awesome.
He pretty much got a Martin guitar for Christmas. But it's one of a kind because it's the only one like that in the world, So.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and quote. That's my brother, ladies and gentlemen.
Right.
He actually has now gone in business with Tim O'Brien.
Right.
Cool. And yes, Mike, this is your plug. They are half owners of the American
Guitar Boutique. Yeah.
And they're fixing to move. So, if you need a good deal on a guitar, give them a buzz.
Right. Cool. This is
that's $5.
What's that?
That's $5.
Since we're doing some promoting here, actually we're gonna Skyler's gonna play a song here in just a minute. But I'll do a little promoting here. Fountain City Coffee Open Mic every Thursday night, hosted by yours truly. There's also Glory Days over in Phoenix City. I had a really good time there last Thursday night.
Oh, yeah?
Went over there. Will dragged me over there, and I ended up having a fantastic time. Glory Days over in Phoenix City, previously the Red Barn, but good open mic. And the Estate. Estate is looking for bands. They want you to put together bands to come play there. So get your rock and roll outfit together and go talk to Lance over at the Estate. Tim, you want to flip the camera around so we can flip some stuff around and Skyler can play some music?
Yeah.
I love catching
if
them
it'll work. Oh my goodness! There we go, guys. I was sitting here playing around. You guys can go ahead and take care of what you got. I really was kind of wondering what to talk about, but since Brian was bringing up the open mics, if you are in the Columbus area, or if you are in the Opelika area, wherever you may be sure to check out the different activities going on in Columbus. I know, especially during the summer, they have things coming up. We have the air show coming up next week. We also had What Strut the Hooch was yesterday, which I'll let Brian tell you about because I know he was participating in that. But it is a plethora. That's my word. A plethora of things going on, and you definitely want to check it out. In the meantime, we're going to go ahead and flip this camera off me because I know you don't want to look at me all day. And we're going to go back to Skyler, and he's going to perform. Was it an original, a cover?
No, this is an old Robert Johnson song called "Stop Breaking Down."
Okay, there you go.
That's where I got my band name from. so from the song.
All right, it is yours.
I can't stop walking down the street. Some pretty mama starts breaking down with me. Stop breaking down. Please stop breaking down. Stuff I gotta bust your brains out, baby, ooh, and make you lose your mind. I can't stop walking down the street. Some no good woman starts breaking down with me. Stop breaking down. Please stop breaking down. Stuff I gotta bust your brains out, baby, ooh, make you lose your mind. All you Saturday night women's, you know you love to ape and clown, but you won't do nothing but tear a good man's reputation down. Stop breaking down. Please stop breaking down. Stuff I gotta bust your brains out, baby, ooh, and make you lose your mind. I gave my baby the 99th degree. She jumped up and threw the pistol down on me. Stop breaking down. Please stop breaking down. Stuff I gotta bust your brains out, baby, ooh, and make you lose your mind. Every time I'm walking down the street, some pretty mama starts breaking down with me. Stop breaking down. Please stop breaking down. Stuff I gotta bust your brains out, baby, ooh, make you lose your mind.
And there we go, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Skyler Saufley. And I like that.
I do too.
I like that. Old Robert Johnson, I like
That's
that.
right.
That's blues. And as we give them time to kind of skittle around and get the set up, and Brian is just taking his time. I think he does that just to aggravate me, ladies and gentlemen. But no, in the meantime, we're going to go on back and finish the rest of the interview. And stick around. By the way, Gene, welcome, Gene Avery. We started doing things on Facebook Live, and I can catch them every once in a while. Gene, cool. and Pam Corona. Pam is actually from, I forgot where Pam is from, actually. But if you guys have any questions for Skyler or Brian, just as long as they're not about Star Wars, please ask. But in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and go back to these gentlemen. They're going to go back to the interview.
Cool. Sounds like fun. So, Skyler, great job. Appreciate it, man. That was awesome. Now, don't you think it's, and I know you do, but I'd like to encourage people to seek out the roots of the music that they like, because, it occurs to me that, when I was growing up, there's a bunch of music that I liked, and most of my heroes, which are ironically all named John for some reason, have passed away. Johnny Cash, John Denver, John Lennon, John Cafferty. He's still alive. But anyway, you get John Stewart. You get a point. But it's like
Johnny Appleseed.
We've had the passing of several great old blues players here lately. And I think that it's important for people to keep that torch going, like Skyler here, because, you're getting, like you talked about earlier, you're getting the people who were inspired by,
Right.
but you're not getting a whole lot of the carrying. I'm sure you are in places, but,
Right.
Around here at least, there's not a whole lot of the people who are going on with the actual thing that inspired the whole
Right.
thing. And that's important, I believe. Yeah, a lot of the I've been catching up with that, and not having been a blues fan, I don't know them all, but I've seen them. I've seen the reports, and it's like, man, there's another one gone.
Right.
And that's tough. I'd like to talk a little bit about what do you think. As far as professionalism in music, how important that is, because it's like we were talking a little bit about the difference between a hobbyist guitarist and a professional guitarist. And what do you think that is?
I just feel like, to me, a real musician is somebody that's like, I'm gonna stay up all night if I got to learn this one lick, or I'm gonna keep on playing. I'm practicing new things that I can't do now, that are hard for me, that I can do later on.
Right.
And then a hobby player is somebody that's just like, oh, well, I'll play if I got a gig. I'll just go out and I just want to have a good time and play Sweet Home Alabama with my friends.
Right. And I have seen the difference in Columbus. I've actually I've seen a bigger difference in seeing people outside of Columbus, and no knock against people in Columbus, but like I've seen bands play at other places, and it's like, and they're traveling bands, but they're not they're not on TV bands. Right. They're not on the red carpet. They're bands that are still under the radar, so to speak, and just sound like a record.
Right.
And then you hear people, and it almost sounds like they're fumbling around a little bit.
Right.
And some of my stuff has sounded fumbly too, but it's like getting past that and getting it really tight and taking it very seriously, I think, is important.
I mean, you go somewhere like Atlanta or Memphis, and you go see a band up there, and they're just like, killer players, and they they know their stuff, and they're all tight bands. And then you come here, and all the people that everybody's like, oh, that guy is awesome. If he or she went up there and was trying to play with those guys, they'd probably laugh at them. I mean,
you've got to, if you want to. This is something that I've thought about for a long time, and I've got my fingers in pies around different places, and I learned stuff, from things that I've got my fingers into. I'm not just like, I'm hobbyist in some areas and try to be more professional in others, but you learn things when you delve into them. And one thing that's across the board is taking seriously what you do in professionalism.
That's
right. And not putting out a subpar product.
That's right.
And I think that's extremely important. And it's how you get past, you can get gigs every week. You can play 2 gigs a week, 3 gigs a week, like some people do, but you're never going to be on TV. You're never going to be on the red carpet. What do you want? If you call yourself a hobby player, then fine, be a hobby player. But if you think that you're going to be more than that and you're not doing what it takes, then. And that's marketing too. That's not just playing. That's everything. You've got to. I've been accused of loving pictures of myself, and it's like my nephew's like, yeah, Brian loves pictures of himself, and that's true. But it's not that I'm a narcissist. It's that I don't have people carrying. I don't have, like, if you have people that are like in Hollywood, they have professional people taking pictures of them for ads and things like that. Well, if you don't have that, you've got to take advantage of what you can get. Yeah. But
And
so don't feel bad if that's what you need to do, because that's important.
And that's why the local music scene is so thankful for Chuck Crowley.
Oh,
'Cause
Chuck.
He does that. You
I
know?
like to
Chuck
do that.
and Yvonne.
Yeah,
Chuck
and
Yvonne.
Yvonne,
Yeah,
yeah.
that, huge shout out for them. We can't shout out enough
right.
to them, because they really do. Chuck and Yvonne, you guys are amazing, and you do wonders for the Columbus music scene. When I was pimping stuff earlier, I forgot to mention. Well, I was talking about the open mics around town. Henry Connolly's got one on Wednesday night. I definitely don't want to leave that out at Legend, so check that out too.
Yeah.
What would you like to achieve? Because you're obviously not just a hobby player. There's got to be an end game. You know, there's got to be something farther down the road that you would like to see come from something that you did or your efforts.
I mean, I'd like to make a living doing it, but you know, the main thing is I just want to keep it going. You know,
Right.
I mean, because you know, like we were talking about earlier with blues night and all that. You know, you don't see too many players playing the real, genuine blues anymore.
Right.
You know, now there's some around here, but it's kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? It's just not as powerful, I guess. You know,
Right.
you listen to, Howlin' Wolf or Muddy Waters or Robert Johnson, and you
Right.
think like, man, they, just listening to the words, not even listening to the guitar, you just, that's some good stuff. But, then you listen to, something. I'm not going to say any names or anything, but it just isn't as potent. It's not raw enough. You
Right.
know?
You can tell the music back then, they put their heart and soul
That's
in it.
right.
Right.
You can tell that when you heard the blues, it came from a genuine place in their soul.
That's right.
And these days, it's just kind of, let me pump out something else that'll make me a hit tune.
Right.
And a lot of people, when they say they play blues, they'll solo for 15 minutes, then they'll sing a verse because they have to.
Right.
Then they'll solo for 15 more minutes, and then sing another verse that sounds like the same verse. Then they'll solo for 20 more minutes, and then they'll end the song. And then, there's no story in the song, like that was one thing that all those old country blues guys had, right? Was
Right.
they told stories,
And you can impress an audience for a night, but if you want something that's going to endure, you got to have a little
Right.
something to it.
Well, it's kind of hard to impress an audience if half of them are, have been under the influence.
Anything.
that's
sounds
when it's
good.
the easiest to impress them.
Okay, touche. You got that one.
But if you're gonna
by the
put-
way, I do want to pass something along. Speaking of someone that we have a lady who, knock on wood, she's checking her schedule, but maybe she'll be here next weekend. Her name is Helen Thule, and Helen was here last week over at the house. She actually was just visiting, and she is a gospel singer and a jazz singer, and she's been around for a while. And it was at that time that I had first contact with Skyler. Said, Skyler, would you like to maybe come down next weekend and be on
Yeah.
the show? And the minute I mentioned the minute I mentioned Skyler's name to her, she sat there and went, she apparently had met you at the loft. And she said, oh, he is so good. He is such a nice young man.
Ah.
But she was so impressed on the fact that he was so knowledgeable of his craft.
Right.
He didn't have a guitar, so she never got to hear him. So basically, when she sees this will be her first chance to see him.
Wow.
But she was just extremely impressed of the knowledge of his craft
Yeah.
for someone that was, as young as he is.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
I
21.
say that because I'm someone that's old as I am.
Right.
So
Yeah, this is a walking blues encyclopedia right here. He's answered all my questions. This kid gave me a new appreciation for the blues I previously did not have. So
That's what I'm here for.
that's what
So,
you're here for.
Mission accomplished. There I go.
Now, in this town, this is very much a country town. It's a country town. It's a country town.
There's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not dissing country, but that's mainly what is popular here. How does your blues, like your real blues, go over at the places you play?
Well, I've always felt like no matter what kind of music you're playing, if you feel it and you're genuine with it and you're not just trying to churn out a couple songs, if you're genuinely putting your heart and soul into that song,
Right.
no matter what you're playing, you're going to get their attention. I mean, I can play. I played a gig at Buckwild. That's like probably the biggest honky tonk
Yeah.
in town, you know, and you know, I played just a slow blues song, but as soon as I started playing that guitar, they could hear it, and they were like, you know, who's up there playing, you know? They, you know, first looking at me, they're like, oh, he ain't nothing, he ain't gonna do nothing good, you know. But then when I start playing, then they're like, oh man, you know, let's go see what's going on up there, you know.
Very cool. Yeah, I've never set foot. Oh, Buckwild. I was thinking Outlaws. Yeah, Buckwild.
Oh yeah.
That's a cool place too. And that's very much a country place.
I
Nice
think a lot of
stage.
those places that are, you know, that are classified as one genre of music, this is country, that due to us having the university in the area, I know last week the two gentlemen we had on, that was Something Musical.
Right, yeah.
They started
You
off as
guys.
jazz guitarists.
Right.
And it's really, really interesting to see the people that come into the show, and we start seeing the hodgepodge of music that maybe that they've been through. You know, we've had jazz, we've had blues, we've had, you know, pop,
Right.
country, you know, whatever. But they always seem to cover the whole gamut.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just they're not stuck on one.
Right. And I like people that do a hodgepodge of stuff. Like, I love seeing different influences. I'm really into the more artistic stuff. Like, if somebody's got some really, like, strange sounding song with ethereal lyrics, I love it. I'm like, because when I hear something, I want to be able to see a far off place,
Right,
or something
right.
like that. And I love that sort of thing. So the more you can put into something, and well, like, what do you think is? This is something I wanted to ask you that I had forgotten about. What do you think is groundbreaking? Because rock and roll came from the blues, rap came from some of those things.
Some of those things.
So I'm not sure where, but and not knocking rap. I just don't know. Like, what? Then you have dubstep, house, you know, techno, ska, you know, all these musical genres. What do you think is the next progression in music? How do you think something could evolve into, you know, something that's?
I hope it's something more genuine. I'll say that.
Yeah,
you know. You know, too many people on the radio, you know, they think, well, I mean, music in general, now they can, you know, I know 3 chords. I don't have to learn anymore. You
Right.
know, I can write songs with this 3 chords, and then everything else I could do on my computer.
Right,
you know? And
right.
There's no soul, you know. I mean, you're not giving them your all. You know, you're just kind of throwing something together. It's like almost factory produced, you know. I mean, even, you know, like the, you know, I'm talking about all those old country blues guys, you know.
Right.
That was, most of them like were doing what I was doing, you know, one-man band thing, and, you know, it was, at least when you hear it, you know that's the real deal. Just
Right.
like, you know, even we're talking about country, you know, you listen to Hank Williams, and you're like, you know, he's putting his heart and soul into those songs,
Right.
you know, or Bob Marley, you know, reggae, you know, he was doing that stuff too. You know,
Right,
the people that put their heart and soul into the music, you know, that's the real, genuine stuff. And today you hear too much kind of just thrown together, you know, here's some song I wrote yesterday, blah, 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 you know.
Right.
There's no story, no emotional connection to the listener. You
And what
know?
do you think caused that? What do you think made people give up the real music for sound effects? Like, okay, we've all, anybody who's a musician has played in a club, and you have the audience at varying degrees of you know, what do you call it, participation. Then the band goes on break, and all the booty music comes up,
Right.
and everybody rushes to the stage. What do you think has made people, you know, want that so much more than the actual thing?
Well, I think part of it's the music business and money. You know, money in the sense that people stopped wanting to pay musicians, and I think when they stopped paying, you know, musicians started having to kind of improvise and make something so they could still do it. Or even, you know, you're talking about rap, you know, that came from, you know, they cut music in certain schools, so they didn't have instruments, so what are they going to do? They come up with that. But, you know, musicians trying to improvise and make something out of it so they can still play and do that. And I think the music business, in the sense, like, we were talking about earlier, certain people high up, they like to tell people what's good and what's not, so they can sell something. Mm-hmm. So, they can get a horrible artist that don't know how to play anything, and, they can put them out and give them a haircut and give them some nice clothes, and they're like, oh, well, this is the next big guy, and, everybody's going to go buy their records because they...
Right, because
they're
Madison
told to.
Avenue, Madison Avenue told them to.
Right.
And, this is just my personal kind of take on it. I think that a lot of music was absolutely ruined when they started things like American Idol and The Voice, and because it's, if you ever watch this and you see maybe like I remember a long time back, a guy came on who was a farmer. I mean, he dressed up. I mean, he was literally just a redneck, basically. Right. But when he played, and it came from the heart.
Right.
So you watch him as the show progresses throughout the year, and it's like they took that music and just turned it into something else.
They try to force them to do what they don't want to do.
And you never hear from them again.
Right.
Because people just don't like that. They loved when they first came on and were coming from the heart, but they don't like that package that people are turning them into.
And even, you put, if Robert Johnson, if he was on there, he would have lost. Elvis Presley, he would have lost.
Thing. It's like there's that's something I've mentioned to people before, something of that nature. That if you were to put, take like some of those shows and put, I think I used Bob Dylan.
Yeah, he would have lost.
Yeah, totally. And it's like today he's a legend. Who doesn't?
Right.
What music lover doesn't call Bob Dylan a legend?
Right.
But would Bob Dylan make it in today's world? And why? It's not because Bob Dylan wasn't good and we're better. It's because we have accepted something subpar.
Right.
And you're telling people that if they do something like the original guys who were good did, they're not good enough. And it's like, I think people need to look at that and reevaluate their whatevers.
And this is the last thing I have to say, and we'll let Skyler comment on it and go ahead and wrap this thing up. But I know that the internet has done some really awesome things for musicians. Right. They're able to get their music out. They're able to, these days live stream.
Yeah.
They're able to do a lot of things, but at the same time, it's kind of made a lot of them lazy.
Yeah.
I.e., I'm sitting right now in what I say my studio. It's really a garage, ladies and gentlemen. But all you home recording engineers out there, turn off the auto-tune.
Yeah.
They love to sit there, and it's like Skyler said. I know 3 chords, turn on auto-tune, and and if you listen, it's an entire album of the same song regurgitated over and over and over.
Yeah. I don't have a comment. You pretty much nailed it right there.
Well, hey, what I was saying is that the internet's good, and what I really kind of was going to is tell us where we can find you.
Exactly.
Well, I have a Facebook page like everyone else. You could look up Skyler Saufley and the 99th Degree. That's my my band name. Yep, from that song I played.
You got to bring the band out here one day.
I would love to. So you just hit me up. I'll bring them out.
We'll get the band out. Yep.
Yeah.
I actually was going to call up my brother. I know he's got a stand-up bass and see if we need a bass player.
I would love that. Yeah.
So, and you got a calendar of events coming up?
Kind of been working on some stuff. We played Legends every Thursday.
Okay, Legends every Thursday.
That's about it right now that I can remember. I'm horrible at remembering that stuff.
Well, they can check your Facebook page.
Yeah,
you can give updates there.
You get out to the blues night a lot at the Loft, or?
I try to every once in a while. I don't like to make it a habit, but I go out there when I can.
I'm going to give it a shot simply because I work every night, so it seems like I can't get to go anywhere.
Right.
As a matter of fact, I tell most musicians, and I don't remember if it was Skyler or someone else, I said, please tell me when you have a non-smoking event on a Saturday night.
That's at 8th and Rail. Next time I'm playing there, I'll get you.
You got a deal.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that brings us to the end of this episode of the show. Skyler, absolute pleasure having you on as usual.
And, I'm going to request something kind of out of the ordinary here. I'm gonna let Skyler to kind of, even if it's a tune he's before, if he can kind of take us out.
Okay. Here, let me stick this into this, and then
That's okay. You can just sit right there beside him.
Okay, that'll work.
I don't know what to play. What you want me to play?
Just play what you did before. Okay, guys, that's it. Once again, has been Mr. Skyler Saufley, and we're letting him take us with his guitar stylings. But we hope to get him back in his band. He said it's 99th Degree. Is that the
Right.
name? Great. And we hope that you have enjoyed the show, and you will join us each and every Sunday afternoon at 3 o'clock, or 3:30 p.m., I should say, here on The Show.